Welcome to Business Spotlight, where we share insights, reflections, and pearls of wisdom from local business owners. My name is Ceri James. I'm a business coach and facilitator. And today we welcome to Business Spotlight from, let me just get this right, Hampson, Nattan Williams.
Right.
Martin Williams, welcome. How are you today, Martin?
Hi, Ceri. I'm very well, thank you. Good to be here. Nice to see you.
Excellent. Let's get stuck straight in, if we may, please, Martin. Give us a little background, a little bit of a history and an overview of HNW. What are you focusing on? What do you specialise in, please?
Okay, to begin at the beginning, about 4.5 years. About 4.5 years we've been together, 3 successful Manchester-based freelance copywriters, and we used to meet up as you do, birds of a feather and all that, and moan about the same things. And we had this revelation, really. We thought to ourselves, wouldn't this be better if we combined forces, increase capacity, a breadth of skill sets, whole host of benefits. So we got together, about 4.5 years ago. We're message first is our mantra. We passionate about copy and getting the message right. We focused a lot on brand tone of voice. It's a real big starting point for us with a lot of clients. We do a lot of a variety of sectors. We tend to do a lot of tech for some reasons, ended up like that, which is great. That's pretty much our origins. And
what about, you mentioned clients, what might be your ideal client in terms of what their challenges are, or the culture of the business, or where their brand is? What might be a typical or ideal client for you, Martin?
Yeah, it's a client in the process of reflection and about to undertake change, really. So they'll be launching a new product or a new campaign, or wanting to rebrand. We get heavily involved in that because the message is, essential component of that. It's just not all pixels and Pantones and design. We work very closely with designers to work on the brand aspect of businesses. So change is a point at which we get involved in a lot of businesses. Agencies as well. We do a lot of work with agencies who don't necessarily have the capacity or the skill set in-house to look after their clients when it comes to their sort of copy and their messaging. So they'll bring us in for some in-house outsourced expertise comes there.
Got you. Okay. And in terms of why your clients would choose you compared to competitors, how might you kind of position yourself in that scenario?
A variety of reasons, really. Experience, like I mentioned, the breadth of the skill sets we offer, and sort of processes, really. There's a lot of freelance copywriters out there, and a lot of them do a great job. But when you're just dealing with a single person, it's you end up with best opinion copy. We run a process we call triple strength, and someone will lead the project assisted by one of the other partners, and the third partner will be sort of kept away from it, isolated, and they will offer a sort of impartial, objective viewpoint on the work that's going. We give obviously brief them before they check it, and it's just rigor, really. There's 3 pairs of eyes on it. It's peer review process we do. We find that just gets better results. It's best practice, not best opinion.
Okay, very good. And I'm intrigued, Martin. It's come to the forefront of the last maybe 4 to 6 weeks only. All this news about Chat GPT and there's other tools, Jasper, etc.
Oh, yes.
Getting the AI stroke knowledge of the internet to write your content and your copy for you. Be great to get your perspective on that, and how you would position yourselves against people who are kind of tempted to move in that direction.
It's an interesting one. It's there's certainly aspects of what we do that it can be a great tool, ideation and bits and pieces of that. But if you're looking for actual client-facing, persuasive copywriting, I think you're looking in the wrong place with ChatGPT. There's a lot of talk in the industry about it, and various people feeling threatened or ambivalent towards it, whatever. A lot of opinions on it. It doesn't really impact on the kind of work we do. Our work is very much client-facing, there is an industry already that exists. You can send your work out to content mills, or people in India or the Philippines go to fiverr.com and have your copy written. And that's a different industry to the one we're in. We have close relationship with our clients. We work very, very hard on voice of customer and brand tone of voice, and the more telling, the more important aspects of messaging, really. And chat GPT and all those kind of things. Yeah, it's great. It's a great tool, but it's not horses for courses, really. It's not comparable. So I don't feel. I ran a question. I asked ChatGPT to give me the ROI of brand tone of voice for brands who use it compared to brands who don't, and it came up with these figures: 23% better ROI, 17% longer customer retention rates, and customer lifetime values of 44%. And I thought, this is gold dust. This is genius. I'm going to use this. I'm going to, tell everyone. I said, give me the URLs, please, and the sources. And it came up with it all. And I clicked on them, and they were dead links. And I Googled Googled like crazy to try and find sources for this information I've been given by the robot, and there was nothing. So it just fed me a load of bull, basically. It told me what I wanted to hear. So I think, yeah, it was it's kind of a shame it doesn't work as well as it makes sense. I think a lot of the time it tells you what you want, what you want to hear. It can own. It's just growing out and grabbing information that's out there, and if it isn't there, and it can't couple it together in a way that looks persuasive, in this case, it was useless.
Yeah, it's good to get that. Good to get that perspective on it. So you mentioned your industry and changes on the industry, and clearly the digital revolution and Chat GPT and all the rest of it is part of it. But clearly we've lived in fairly turbulent times over the last 3 years or so. How have all the changes with interest rates and inflation and lockdown, of course, what have been the impact on your industry, do you think, Martin?
If anything, it's been a really, the more distress there is out there on a commercial level in the economy, the more people have to work, the harder you have to work to get your message across, to be understood, to share your value. And there's no better way of doing that than by sharing your value, using the right words, really. So copy has become that much more important. And I think the ChatGPT debate as well goes to highlight the importance of it, the importance of those relatable truths that you share with your audience, and sharing your value with strong copywriting. So from our perspective, we've had a really, really good couple of years, and long may it continue, because for those reasons, I think it's that much more competitive. You need that competitive advantage. What better way to do it than with great copy?
And if you think about the global brands that you think do this better than lots of other brands, which would be the standout global brands that people might be familiar with that you think do a fantastic job of their branding, their messaging, their tone of voice, etc.?
The classic is Apple, really. Absolutely. Yeah. Fabulous. Consistently brilliant. I've got like Salesforce at the moment. They're doing some nice work, and I find it really interesting how they take a sort of software, bits and bytes, and they put these weird little woodland creature avatars with it as well, and soften it up a bit. There's some nice work there. Who else? Classics, Brewdog, they built a business on being bolshy, being in your face, and they, to their credit, they've done it very, very well. And brands who confound expectations I really like as well, who, well, I guess a bit like Salesforce in a way, who are playful and use language in a way that that isn't necessarily obvious. I did a presentation last week. There's a Swiss banking group called Hyper Swiss, and they're just great. No, they are not just more than a bank. They have reacted to the sort of funky, shiny new challenger bank brands, their app speak and all that kind of stuff. And no, it's not. And yes, it's just about your money sort of thing. They double down on the fact they are a bank and they're looking after money and helping people make money is what they do. And that's a really successful. They've been running the campaign for a few years now.
Takes me back to a case study I looked at when I was doing my marketing studies. It was on First Direct. I always thought that was a great insight-based brand and campaign. You know, the bank for people that hate banking.
Yeah. I mean, that's like I was saying before. It's that relatable truth, isn't it?
Yes.
They're saying what people are thinking, and it sort of resonates. So yeah.
Okay, so what about we've talked a little bit about the industry in general. What specifically about HNW? What would be your main challenges today, would you say, Martin?
Main challenges? Our main job is to find the right customers for us. It's not just about any customer. I think it's about finding, we can't spend our time and energy educating people on the value of great copy. Yes, we do that, obviously, but there's an element of people have got to see the value themselves, have already experienced how great copy builds those connections and brings people closer and makes them hang around longer and spend more money with you. So there's an element of people needing to get that, and that brand isn't just about pictures and design and colors. We love working with designers. They're practitioners like us. They really care. So we love working with designers. So a challenge for us is to speak to people right at the beginning of the brand development process, really. So that messaging is locked in to the design at the beginning. It can be really, really strong combination. So it's finding the right customers, I guess, is our challenge. And we seem to be doing pretty well at the moment about that. But obviously, the more the merrier. And, yeah.
Yes, I completely understand that point about people's different views about brands, and some people get it at a very kind of deep level, others don't. How do you go about testing or exploring whether you think a potential client gets it and has a similar view on what branding is to yourselves?
Well, I guess it depends what they come to us for, the problem solving they come to us with. And the responsibility of the person we're dealing with. Some people will have remit to go up as far as actual brand fundamentals. Other people will contact us and they'll want some articles or blogs or case studies, which is great in its own right. But if ideally you want someone with the influence, with an ear inside the business, and then we can have the conversations about how our work can really, really benefit them, if that makes sense.
Right. What sort of questions might you ask them, or how would you explore that key question that you said about?
Yeah, well,
do they get it or not?
Yeah, so we're brought in a lot of, we do a lot of brand tone of voice. We've got a great brand tone of voice workshop we do, and the conversations in those brand tone of voice workshops will often extend much further than how you say what you say, which is your brand tone of voice. We'll sit and watch people have discussions about their positioning and what they want to say, and then we can ask further and find and start to explore those areas, because often they haven't necessarily been thought through to the extent they might have been. So we can sort of take it back upstream a little bit to the more brand positioning type thinking.
Okay. And so moving on looking towards the future then, Martin, what would you say your main aspirations are for the agency, for HNW?
Yeah, main aspirations, do great work for great clients. I think are our two main aspirations. Consolidate our reputation for brand tone of voice, extend it into the brand positioning and the actual branding side of businesses, and continue doing great fulfillment, the great writing, the words. At the end of the day, was what it boils down to. So continue to do that, to follow through the whole sort of life cycle of a message.
Got you. Okay. So Martin, you started off by telling us a little bit about the history and how you came together 4.5 years ago. What would you say are the main lessons you've learned, and what advice would you give yourself now that you've had 4.5 years of experience as a business owner as opposed to a freelancer, what are the main lessons have you learned, do you think, Martin?
Yeah, I reckon that you can't do everything by yourself. It's to trust and rely on other people's abilities and have the modesty to listen to them and reflect on them and build a better thing together. We're all particularly skilled at, we've all got different skill sets, and the challenge for any successful business, I think, is to blend that range of skill sets together to make a whole that's greater than the sum of its parts. So yeah, I think collaboration, teamwork, and parking your ego sometimes for the greater good, I think is probably
parking your ego. That's an interesting thought there, Martin. Are there particular experiences or?
Well, I mean, writing's a subjective business a lot of the time. There's a lot of subjectivity to it. So you might have come up with something, or a colleague might come up with something. You think this nails it, and you get tested and challenged, and you have to justify. And sometimes you think, actually, that's creaking. It's a bit frayed around the edges. Okay, I'll go back and rework it. And that's not that's nothing personal. It's a professional. You're getting professional input. And so, yeah, I think the three of us, we're making each other much better writers for that kind of challenge and test and rigor that we apply to each other. And I think that's partly what it was.
When it comes to coaching, we talk about the idea of committing ego side, because it's all about the person you're coaching as opposed to the coach, of course. So
yeah, and we have to do it for our businesses as well, for our clients, because a very valuable contribution we make is objectivity to businesses. And so we can see things that other people can't necessarily see sometimes, and that's very, very valuable.
Absolutely.
It's their business at the end of the day. They're the client, and we can make our arguments and make our points clearly, but it's their business. We offer our best advice and the best input. So yeah, there's that side of it as well. You've got to be respectful.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Michael Jordan coach. Some Michael Jordan quote. Sorry, I think somebody said to him, "You're the best basketball player in the world. Why do you need a coach?" He said, "It's very simple. They can see things that I can't."
Yeah, I think it's great value in objectivity. I mean, some of the biggest, your Bransons of this world will probably have some sort of mentor, someone they can just get an angle or a review from, or just a soundboard. So I think that makes perfect sense.
Very good. Well, it's been fascinating, Martin. Just to finish off with, are there any announcements or invitations or offers you'd like to make to our Business Spotlight viewers today?
Yeah, we do this sort of messaging audit, just a quick review. Sometimes it's really hard to tell whether, when you're too close, like we were talking about objectivity, sometimes it's very hard to tell, whether you should be saying what you're saying, whether your message is working as hard as it might. And a fresh pair of eyes can really, really help with that. Big problem we find with writing and messaging is that it's not bad messaging. It's easy to spot if it's just clunky and grinding along, and there's if there's grammatical or logic failures, bad ones, you can spot it a mile off. The challenge most businesses have, my opinion certainly, is so-so copy, mediocre copy that reads okay, that is spelt right, and is sort of says the right sort of things. But compare that to good copy, you're leaving a lot on the table, and because it isn't overtly bad or obviously bad, it slips under the radar, and it hangs around on websites for years, or in brochures, or wherever, any sort of these marketing touch points, continually underperforming. And it takes an experienced eye to be able to say, you could be doing better there. You really could be doing better there. So yeah, so we run this messaging audit, quick review of people's websites, I think it's probably the easiest way to do it.
Mhm.
They've got, you know, hard copy collateral as well that we need to look at. We'll do that, and we'll just give a take on it really, and just and some pointers. And have you thought about this? Have you thought about, again, just a bit of objective input, though I say so myself.
And what is the offer there? Is that a discount, or what's the specific offer there?
No, so we'll if anyone wants to reach out to us, happy to take a look. Happy to take a look at if there's something particularly concerning them, or they're just unsure if they could be doing better. More than happy to take a look at their copy and start a conversation. Maybe the conversation won't go anywhere because their copy is amazing, you know, and maybe they just want a bit of advice or guidance or whatever it is. Maybe they're unsure about their brand tone of voice, or
Very good. Okay, well, we'll include a link to your website so people can get in touch, linked to this video on a Business Spotlight. So Martin, thanks so much for your time and your contribution. It's been an absolute pleasure, and all the very best with your business.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.